Liam was the eldest brother in a family of 4. His sisters, Emma, Lily, and Eva, were all younger than him, and they looked up to him like a hero. But life was not easy for them. Their parents had passed away when Liam was just 15, leaving him to take care of his little sisters. They lived in a tiny house at the edge of town, barely making ends meet. One day, while walking home from his job at the market, Liam overheard a conversation between 2 rich men. "The entertainment business is booming," one of them said. "People will pay anything to watch something exciting." Liam's mind started racing. What if his sisters could become entertainers? They were smart, quick, and full of energy. If they could perform in some way, they might never have to struggle again. But how? That night, he watched his sisters playing in the small living room. Emma, the oldest of the 3, was excellent at telling stories. She could make up tales so gripping that even the neighbors' kids would sneak over to listen. Lily had an incredible voice. Whenever she sang, people stopped to listen. And Eva, the youngest, was fearless and could do tricks that no other kid dared to try. An idea formed in Liam's mind. He was going to turn his sisters into stars. At first, Emma, Lily, and Eva didn't understand what Liam meant. "People love entertainment," Liam explained. "If we give them something exciting, they will pay for it. And then, we will never be hungry again." The sisters were unsure, but they trusted Liam. He had never let them down before. But Liam didn't know that by chasing success, he was also walking into a world of danger, betrayal, and secrets darker than he ever imagined. Liam woke up early the next morning with a fire in his heart. He had made up his mind his sisters would become stars. But there was a problem. They had no money, no stage, and no audience. Still, Liam wasn't the kind of person to give up. "We will start small," he told his sisters. "We will perform on the streets. If we do well, people will notice us." Emma, Lily, and Eva weren't sure. They had never done anything like this before. But Liam's eyes were full of hope, and they didn't want to disappoint him. That afternoon, they went to the town square. It was always full of people, shopkeepers, travelers, and children running around. Emma started telling a story, her voice full of magic. Lily sang a song so sweet that birds stopped chirping to listen. And Eva did a daring jump, flipping in the air before landing perfectly. People gathered around, clapping and cheering. Some even dropped coins at their feet. Liam's heart pounded. It was working. But then, something unexpected happened. A tall man in a dark coat pushed through the crowd. His eyes were sharp, and his smile didn't reach them. "You have talent," he said. "Come with me. I can make you rich." Liam didn't trust him. The man's voice was smooth like honey, but there was something cold about him. Still, the promise of money was tempting. If this man could make them successful, they would never be hungry again. But Liam had no idea that saying yes would change their lives forever. The man's name was Mr. Cole, and he owned the biggest entertainment company in town. He took them to a grand theater, bigger than anything they had ever seen. The golden lights shone like stars, and the floor was polished like glass. "You will perform here," Mr. Cole said. "But first, you must train. You must be the best." The sisters were excited but nervous. Liam felt a strange unease in his stomach. Mr. Cole had a lot of rules. They had to wake up at dawn and train for hours. Emma had to make her stories more dramatic. Lily had to make her voice stronger. Eva had to push her body beyond its limits. At first, it was fun. The theater was magical, and they loved performing. But soon, things started to change. Mr. Cole became harsher. "More energy," he shouted. "More power. If you're weak, you're useless." He would make them practice until their voices cracked, until their legs shook with exhaustion. Liam wanted to stop it, but every time he thought about leaving, he remembered the hungry nights. He remembered the cold winters when they had no blankets. So he kept pushing them. "Just a little longer," he said. "We are so close." But he didn't see the pain in his sister's eyes. Soon, the sisters became famous. Their faces were on posters all over town. People paid huge amounts of money to see them perform. Liam counted the coins in his hands. They had more money than they had ever dreamed of. But something was wrong. Emma no longer smiled when she told her stories. Lily's voice was beautiful, but empty. Eva had bruises from pushing her body too hard. They were rich, but they weren't happy. One night, Emma came to Liam's room. "We don't want to do this anymore," she whispered. Liam's heart stopped. "But we work so hard. This is what we wanted." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "No, Liam. This is what you wanted." Her words hit him like a knife. Had he forced them into this? Had he turned his own sisters into machines, only meant to make money? Liam lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. He had to fix this. But Mr. Cole wasn't going to let them go that easily. The next morning, Liam told Mr. Cole they wanted to leave. Mr. Cole laughed. A cold, sharp laugh. "You think you can just walk away," he said. "You belong to me now." Liam's blood ran cold. He had signed a contract. A contract that gave Mr. Cole complete control over his sister's performances. They weren't just stars. They were prisoners. Liam ran to his sisters. "We have to escape," he whispered. "But how?" Eva asked. "There are guards everywhere." Liam didn't have an answer. That night, he sat in the dark, his mind racing. Then, he had an idea. A crazy, dangerous idea. The next day, during their biggest performance yet, Liam did something no one expected. He ran onto the stage, grabbed the microphone, and shouted, "This is all a lie." Gasps filled the theater. He pointed at Mr. Cole. "This man has trapped us. He doesn't care about talent. He only cares about money." The audience murmured. Some people looked angry. Others looked shocked. Mr. Cole's face twisted with fury. He signaled to his guards. Liam turned to his sisters. "Run!" The crowd exploded into chaos. People shouted, guards pushed forward, but Liam and his sisters dashed through the madness. They ran through the back door, past the alley, into the dark streets. Mr. Cole's men chased them. But Liam had one last trick. Before leaving, he had sent a letter to the town's newspaper, telling them everything. The next morning, the truth was everywhere. Mr. Cole's empire crumbled. His theaters were shut down. And Liam and his sisters, they were free. For the first time in years, they could finally breathe. Liam looked at his sisters, their faces bright with happiness. "I'm sorry," he said. "I only wanted to help." Emma smiled. "You did, Liam. You helped us remember what really matters." And for the first time in a long time, Liam knew money wasn't the answer. Love was. Liam and his sisters had escaped Mr. Cole's grip, but they weren't safe yet. They had lost everything, their fame, their money, and even their home. They hid in an old barn on the outskirts of town. It was cold, dusty, and filled with spiders, but at least they were free. Eva shivered. "What do we do now?" Liam didn't have an answer. He had spent so much time making them stars that he had no idea how to live without it. Then, one night, they heard footsteps outside. Liam's heart pounded. "Stay quiet," he whispered. The door creaked open. A shadow moved inside. Liam grabbed a wooden stick, ready to fight. But then, a familiar voice spoke. "It's me, Ben." Ben was an old friend, a boy who used to sell fruits at the market. He had always been kind to them. "I heard what happened," Ben said. "Mr. Cole is looking for you." Lily gasped. "He's still after us?" Ben nodded. "He's offering a reward to anyone who brings you back." Liam clenched his fist. He should have known Mr. Cole wouldn't give up so easily. "We have to leave," Emma whispered. "But where?" Eva asked. Ben hesitated. "I know a place. My uncle owns a small farm. He can hide you." Liam didn't trust easily, but they had no choice. So, in the dead of night, they followed Ben into the unknown. The farm was peaceful, surrounded by golden fields and tall trees. Ben's uncle, a kind old man named Thomas, welcomed them with open arms. "You can stay as long as you need," he said. For the first time in months, the sisters felt safe. They helped on the farm, feeding animals, picking vegetables, and enjoying the fresh air. But Liam couldn't rest. Mr. Cole was still out there. And as long as he was free, they would never truly be safe. One evening, while walking in the fields, Liam overheard two travelers talking. "Did you hear? Mr. Cole is opening a new theater," one of them said. Liam's hands tightened around the basket he was holding. Mr. Cole was starting over. And if he wasn't stopped, he would trap more children, just like he had trapped them. Liam knew what he had to do. That night, Liam gathered his sisters. "We have to go back," he said. Emma's eyes widened. "Are you crazy?" Lily shook her head. "He'll catch us again." But Liam's voice was firm. "We have to stop him. If we don't, he'll do this to others." Eva, the youngest, spoke up. "How?" Liam took a deep breath. "We expose him. Not just in town, but everywhere." Emma's eyes lit up. "We could gather proof. Show the world what he's doing." Lily nodded. "But we need help." Ben, who had been listening quietly, stepped forward. "I know people. Journalists, reporters. They hate Mr. Cole." Liam looked at his sisters. "Then let's finish this." They returned to the city in disguise. Ben led them to a small underground newspaper run by a man named Oliver. Oliver listened as they told their story, the harsh training, the contracts, the way Mr. Cole had turned them into machines. "This is big," Oliver said. "If we can get proof, we can bring him down." Liam clenched his jaw. "Then we get proof." That night, he and Emma snuck into Mr. Cole's new theater. It was grand, bigger than the last one. But behind the golden curtains, the truth was the same: children walking until they collapsed, their faces pale with exhaustion. Liam took photos with a small camera Oliver had given him. They had the proof. Now, they just had to get out. But as they turned to leave, a deep voice stopped them. "Well, well, well." Mr. Cole stood in the shadows, smiling. Liam's heart pounded. They had walked right into his trap. Guards grabbed Liam and Emma, dragging them to a dark room. Mr. Cole paced in front of them, his eyes cold. "You really thought you could stop me?" he sneered. Liam glared at him. "You won't get away with this." Mr. Cole laughed. "Who's going to stop me?" "You." Liam's fist tightened, but he knew fighting wouldn't help. Then, a loud bang echoed through the theater. The doors burst open. Lily and Eva had arrived, with Oliver and a crowd of reporters behind them. Flashes of cameras lit up the room. Mr. Cole's face twisted in shock. "No," he shouted. But it was too late. Oliver held up a newspaper with their story printed across the front, the dark truth behind the golden stage. Police stormed in. Mr. Cole tried to run. But Liam stepped in front of him. "This is the end," he said. The police took Mr. Cole away. The nightmare was over. Days later, the town celebrated. Mr. Cole's theaters were shut down. The children he had trapped were free. Liam and his sisters became heroes. Eva grinned. "We did it." Liam smiled for the first time in a long time. "Yes. We did." And for the first time, they were not money-making machines. They were just a family. And that was enough. The streets were alive with celebration. People cheered, children danced, and banners with Liam and his sister's faces hung from the windows. For years, Mr. Cole had controlled the city's entertainment industry. Now, he was gone, locked away where he could never hurt anyone again. Liam stood in the middle of it all, watching the joy spread through the town. It felt strange. For so long, he had been running, fighting, surviving. But now, he was free. Eva grabbed his hand. "What happens next?" Liam glanced at his sisters. For years, their lives had been about money, fame, and survival. But what did they want? Lily smiled. "We can do anything now." Emma nodded. "We can start over." Ben, who had been watching quietly, stepped forward. "I have an idea." They all turned to him. "You guys love performing," he said. "Why not do it your way? No contracts, no bosses, just pure, honest performances." Liam hesitated. Could they really go back to performing after everything that had happened? Then, Eva started humming a tune. Lily joined in. Emma clapped along. And for the first time in forever, it didn't feel like work. It felt like home. Months passed. The town built a new theater, not for businessmen like Mr. Cole, but for artists, dreamers, and free spirits. Liam and his sisters performed there, but this time, they owned the stage. They sang, danced, and told their story through music. People came from all over to see them, not as machines, not as products, but as real people with real talent. And in the front row, every single night, sat Ben, cheering the loudest. One night, after a standing ovation, Liam looked at his sisters. They were smiling, laughing, happy. And he knew they had finally won. Not because they had fame. Not because they had money. But because they had each other. And that was more than enough.